Welcome to Momentous Live, where some of us do our research and others buy mixers. This is episode 38. I am Tristan Jutra. To my side is
Me, Tasia Custodi, and below us is
William Silver.
welcome, friends.
guys. We're getting really good at this.
I like how you just take over and pass it on.
That
and
was
then
fluid.
next week, when Gray returns, if the stars
Fingers
align, the
crossed.
planets align, all the things align, then we'll have the full round robin. Good stuff. So here we are in this strange time just before American Thanksgiving and Black Friday, where the tech news is kind of slowed down. So we have some interesting grab bag of choices this week, and we're just gonna sort of free flow through them, and I'm going to get some of your thoughts, Asia and Will, on some of these things. We might go on a couple of little tangents. We don't have too much. It's not jam packed like it normally is, so we're just going to take it nice and easy. You guys ready?
Ready.
Sure, that means you jinxed us. We're going to spend 25 minutes on the first topic.
Exactly. Well, let's start with. I guess I should start with actually setting things up properly with the screen sharing. Would that be helpful? Do you think?
Yeah.
I mean, or we could just describe it to people.
Exactly. Well, accessibility
Interpretive
matters,
dance.
right? Yes. So that's your job.
Yeah.
A couple weeks ago, there was a video that made the rounds from Facebook, the company now known as Meta, with Mark Zuckerberg describing his vision of the metaverse. And the country of Iceland didn't waste time in welcoming the rest of us to the Icelandverse. And here we have their very own version of Mark Zuckerberg, except it's Zach something. I missed that. That went very quickly there. Did a bang up job
Oh God.
of impersonating Mark Zuckerberg's little presentation on the metaverse, but instead it's the Icelandverse. So it's basically a fun, a fun tourism Iceland video where they've done this before. Iceland is their tourism department is definitely on point.
They're
So
funny.
if you haven't seen this yet, I would definitely recommend the folks out there. But go and watch the Meta one first, starring in his own right he's a star, Mark Zuckerberg, and he's sort of a different kind of guy. Probably maybe undiagnosed on the spectrum a little bit. He's got
I think.
some Bill Gates energy to him for sure, and I think he's kind of misunderstood. He's obviously a genius in his own right, but Facebook's come under a lot of fire because the way the world tends to use Facebook. So there's a lot of memes here that they're capturing, including
So funny.
the sunscreen, the heavy duty sunscreen that he was using during some of his wakeboarding videos and whatnot. So anyhow, so from one metaverse to another, of course, all sorts of corporations are jumping on augmented reality and virtual reality, and next up is none other than Dyson, where they have launched a VR store where you can test virtual versions of their hair straighteners and hair dryers and so on before buying them. It's known as Dyson Demo VR. So you can use the Meta product called the Oculus, and I think we're up to the Oculus 2, Oculus 3 now, and it launches on the Oculus Virtual Reality Store and on Dyson's website. So this is basically, I'll just show you guys how it looks here, and if we get the video to play properly, that's always a fun thing. Come on, guys. There we go. Okay, so you put on your Oculus helmet, and you make sure that you go into enter the Dyson store, and then you select your product that you want to try out, your hair straightener, your hair dryer, and so on. Maybe vacuum cleaner, and you can see how it might operate in the real world. You can even straighten your hair. So now, Tasia, as part of your regular beauty routine, I mean, you've got your natural beauty, of course, but even the best of us have to doll ourselves up a little bit to face the world.
Yes, I
whether
did
it's
not wake up like this.
um, now, how do you decide what products to buy? There's, I know, like hair straighteners, they can be all over the place. Hair dryers as well. I bought for my wife, well, the year before last, I think, a Dyson hair dryer type
Oh,
thing that actually works as a hair straightener too, if you
yes.
wanted to. Because some hair straighteners, they can be a little weird. They can like burn your hair. They're not great. So whether it's sort of personal maintenance or home cleaning devices like Dyson's vacuum series. How do you take things for a test drive before purchase, or do you just like fly blind or read reviews, or what's your process? And might this kind of approach be interesting to you?
Yeah, I think this is awesome because typically what I do is like I spend literal weeks scouring the internet for every single review of everything because like certain things like hair straighteners, not to go down a rabbit hole for you guys, but you want to make sure like the plates are made of certain materials because some are easier on hair than others. And like when you're straightening something at such like a high heat like that, it can be really damaging for hair. So Dyson has created really cool technology that can heat at like extremely high heats, but like not be as damaging to hair. I don't know how it works, but the man's genius. The cool thing with this is my friend who is my hairdresser has a couple of the products. So she's got the straightener and she's got the Dyson blow dryer too. And they're freaking awesome. So this would be something really cool to be able to kind of like, I mean, I know you can't really like test it on your own hair, but to get like the feel for it because they're mad expensive. They're so expensive. But the man's a genius. Like his vacuums are amazing. I'm looking
Yeah.
as if you can see my vacuum in my closet. His vacuums are amazing. The hair products are amazing. So I think this would be pretty neat, but I don't have an Oculus, so
Yeah.
Wah, wah.
not what.
You
What
have
am
a
I gonna
Dyson.
do?
You have a Dyson vacuum.
It's one of the
Which
best
model?
purchases we've ever made.
Hmm. What
Oh
do you like
gosh,
about
I
it?
don't know. We actually got it on Black Friday a couple years back. I think 3 Black Fridays ago, so like almost 3 years old. And it's one that came with an entire canvas tote full of accessories, and it's made for like pet hair. So the good thing about it is it's like a ball, that one of the ball ones,
Mm.
but it goes from like tile to carpet really easily, like with a push of a button transition, which is super helpful for us. And then all the accessories and gadgets you can reach anywhere. Like they have like hooked ones, so like you just have to like extend it up and like it hooks. So like if you have like dust on like a ledge sill, like the top of like a door frame or whatever, you can just boop and like use the little hook and just go. That's like it's got hooks for attachments for like your vents. So like ours are in the ceiling. So that's obviously annoying when there's so much dust here in the desert. So now I can just like boom, extend it up and like whoosh, like get that all up top of fans. You guys, there is a pet hair attachment. I will tell you, I've bought so many things on the market for pet hair. There is a pet hair attachment on this thing that actually works and gets up all the pet hair, even off of like blankets, which you know can be hard because like normally vacuums will just like suck up the blanket.
Yeah.
No, he's a genius. Dyson could save the world.
Well, he should start building rockets. Get in on that
He
action.
should start, like, come on. He's got to team up with like Elon Musk. And I don't know. I think the two of them could just change humanity. Okay.
Well,
That's all
what do
I'm
you think?
saying.
Well, what do you think the applications for this sort of try before you buy in a sort of metaverse type thing? What do you think about this whole notion?
I mean, I think it's cool. We have a Dyson hand vacuum, so not the ball one, but the smaller version that
Uh-huh.
charges. We love it. It's great for pets, pet hair, and all that kind of stuff. I think this is a very interesting application. It's kind of cool. It is certainly not what I had envisioned when I first saw the Oculus Rift with vacuums and all that. I mean, the first obvious thing was video games and immersive environments. So this is definitely a bit of a switch on that, but it could also broaden the reach. I think that they're trying to bring it to more things than just games. And games are pretty difficult in this kind of VR environment because there's so much to try to animate and control and so many variables that stuff like this that's a little bit more contained, I think, is probably easier to control and to program.
Well, a couple of weeks ago, Jamie and I went pretty deep down the metaverse rabbit hole and explored some of the potential applications. And I think it's one of those things where it's just you're only limited by your imagination. So purveyors of various products like this, especially ones that maybe a bit technical, or they require some sort of help for customers to imagine how they might appear in the real world. Like IKEA has been pretty early on the augmented reality side of things, where you could go to their app and drop different pieces of furniture into your actual living room, and it actually helps you visualize things. So it's just a question of what products make sense for augmented reality, AR, and virtual reality, VR applications, and whether or not they tie into this grand metaverse that we keep hearing about and talking about, and how these different metaverses might tie together. I mean, you could see a world whereby you're walking down the street and there could be the Dyson store, there could be the Apple store, there could be an IKEA right there, and you could pop in and out of one at the other, just sort of browse around and try things out there. Now, I guess the question is, will there be a store where you can try on all the different types of Crocs that are available for the Christmas 2021 shopping season?
It pains me.
Because believe it or not, after 20 years, Crocs are still a thing. And they're coming back, baby. It's that whole 20-year cycle where it's like, now this is like retro cool, believe it or not.
So you guys, I think, know this, that my wife and I like watching Disney bloggers. And one of the things that they do is they go through and they look at the new merch. And starting about maybe 6 months ago, there started to be a lot of like Disney Crocs in Disney stores. And we watched 3 or 4 different bloggers, and each one of them said, Crocs? Who wears Crocs? I've never had a pair of Crocs. Why are they selling Crocs at the Disney store? But I guess it's a thing again.
Yeah, apparently, and such a wide variety, fur-lined and furry all over, and Birkenstock style, and kids versions, and tie-dye ones, even like flip-flops. They're like diversifying even more so. Crocs socks, that way you can wear socks and sandals and be super cool. The Light Ride Paces are actually kind of neat. I saw a pair of shoes like this in the summertime when I was in Nanaimo, and they were a different brand, but I came this close to buying them. So a neat, kind of easy to clean and easy to, sort of not really waterproof because it's full of holes, but a good kind of summer shoe that looks pretty durable.
And then the charms, I thought that was kind of funny.
Mm-hmm. You can put Grogu on your Crocs there, Will. So now are you interested?
No.
So, Tasia, your reaction right out of the gate was almost visceral there. What is your feeling on Crocs? And can't you see potential gift recipients on your list that might appreciate some of these options?
Wow. I want to call my mom because she still has her original pair of black Crocs. When I was home a few weeks ago, I literally slipped them on to go out the back door because it was like, wet outside. And they were by the back door, and I was like, man, she still has these things. And now look, the woman's always in style. What can I say? We always harp on her, like, you should have kept that thing, because like she'll show us photos, back in the day. And I'm like, those shorts, they were the cutest shorts. And now look, like this would have been the perfect style. And it's just like what you're saying. Like, but, having lived through the Croc thing, I didn't like it then. I don't like it now. And this platform Croc, get out of here. Like, I'm about to swear, I'm so disgusted. Like, it is offensive to my eyes. Like, I don't.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, I don't have a problem with Croc style shoes for the garden. And we actually had, there was a Vancouver company called Holy Souls, like literally 20 years ago. They were contemporaneous with Crocs. And I'm not sure who actually knocked off whom at that point, because I actually heard of Holy Souls first. So maybe they were just a fast follower, or maybe it was, parallel innovation, or maybe Crocs copied them. Who knows? But it's one of those things like, fine for the garden, fine for around the house, but as soon as you start wearing them in public, of course, people can do whatever they want. But sure, it doesn't mean you're not going to get mocked, right? It's just like, I remember there was a store in Gastown here in Vancouver a number of years ago, giant decal on the window. It said, "Yoga pants aren't pants." Similarly, Crocs aren't shoes.
Right.
But if you want to, cover it in charms and let your freak flag fly. Wear your yoga pants and your Crocs and your Croc socks to go with it. Maybe
be the coolest person on the street.
Crocs need crop tops, so they can have crop tops too. You just have to say that quickly 3 times.
3 times fast.
Exactly.
Crop top Croc.
Croc tops. So they'll be on both of your wish lists, I trust. So get ready.
I swear to God, if I get a pair in the mail, it's murder. You understand? It's not acceptable behavior.
The desert will reclaim them.
Exactly. Friendship is over.
So, Tasia, you had a little package arrived while you were away, and can you tell us a little bit about what it is and what's happened in the last few days with it?
Yes, I ordered the 2021 MacBook Pro, the all new 16-inch with the M1 Max chip.
Going all the way.
And I went all the way, you guys. And it was a pretty penny. It's the most expensive. It's a business expense. I need it for work.
So it's basically free.
So basically, I mean, it's a write-off. They're just writing it off.
Yeah, just write it off.
Just write it off. But it's hard. I'm so cheap that it's hard to swallow. But anyway, so I was out of town back in Canada, and I had set up with Apple that I was going to do a trade-in of my 2018 MacBook Pro to try to help offset some of this cost of almost $4,000. And so it wasn't supposed to be delivered till the 19th. I was back home in Canada visiting my family, and I get this notification, this email being exploring your new Mac. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? No shipping notice. Okay. So then I go and I check my front door camera, and sure enough, there's a delivery person just boop, and walking away. And as you all know, I had my butt rub stolen.
Porch pirates.
So obviously there was a panic. My neighbors, they were home, thank God, and they picked it up for me. But it had been sitting out for a couple hours before I noticed it.
Can I interrupt for a second?
Yes, always.
If this is your first live stream, it's not what you think it is, the butt rub.
Oh, yes. Thank you for clarifying. I should clarify, yes. Thank you. But I said it really confidently. If they were thinking it was something for my actual butt, I'm owning it,
Yeah.
No.
Google it, folks. Just be very careful. Safe search on.
Google butt rub. Amazon butt rub.
Amazon butt rub.
It's for meat. That didn't help clarify. But anyway, so... which, I don't know if I told you guys, but 2 days after I got home, there was another theft.
Oh.
And my other camera broke. Our neighbors caught it. Anyway, I'll sidebar that for when we're not live. But so good thing my neighbors got the MacBook for me from my door. However, I decided to use the migration assistant to transfer the 2018 to the 2021. And I was very nervous to do that because I loved my 2018. Very sad to see her go. She was my best laptop I've ever owned. But I credit some of the success of her to the fact that I set her up from scratch. And then I only pulled in individual apps, that I needed to. So I'm kind of nervous because I set up this one via migration assistant, and I didn't do it from scratch, and I've already had a couple glitches. So I'm a little bit nervous, you guys. I'm waiting for the day, I'll be she's not turning on, and I've had it 5 days, you know what I mean? So I'm already on pins and needles, but I did decide to go through with the trade-in, and today I went to UPS and I said goodbye to my 2018, and she's off to her new life. Hopefully somebody will enjoy her. She was the best. That's my really long-winded story about...
Straight to the shredder.
Yeah. No, I was envisioning a Viking funeral where you put it on a boat and light it on fire with an arrow.
She's truly was a workhorse. I never had one issue with her. I traveled with her. Oh, we had a lot of good times together. Then randomly, seriously. So to me, because like I lost all sense of time with COVID, like she was still new to me. So like upgrading or getting this MacBook Pro was like, it's already weird to me because I remember buying the 2018, like she was so new. And then Gray actually said in like one of our group chats, like, well, geez, it's almost 5 years old. And I was like, huh? And then I was like, oh man, it is almost 4 years. Like I was like, okay, it's almost 2022. You are correct. So I was like, okay. But then Best Buy today, as if they know, because that's where I had bought her from originally, as if they know, I was like, they're tracking me. I get this email saying, and it's something like the subject was something like, we need to talk about your MacBook Pro, and I was like, I feel so seen. Like I was like, oh no, why did they send me this? And I click it, and it's like basically like it's old. It's time to upgrade. Here are all our sales, and I was like, don't call her old. She's 2018. She's brand new.
Well, the one that killed me like that was we bought a car a few years ago, my wife and I, and like 3 years later, they said like, "Hey, time for a new car." I'm like, "You don't know me. I buy a car like once every 15 years.
Right.
I don't buy a car every 3 years."
No, and I'm the same with you. Any big purchase like that, and so to me, like the MacBook Pro, like I normally would never. I keep my computers like TJ knows. I would have MacBook Pros like 10 years old and like still like no, it's still good. Like refusing to let it go. The only reason I upgraded was because I wanted to get like upgrade my RAM and all that kind of stuff for editing. And so if I would have upgraded RAM when I initially purchased the 2018, I wouldn't have gotten a 2021. I'm sorry to say that in front of my new 2021. I love you. Please don't crash. You're sexy and wonderful. So like, I'm just like, but I wouldn't have because I think it's all, I don't want to be wasteful. And that was why I struggled with, what do I do with her? Do I be selfish and just keep her as like my backup in case there's an issue? But like, I want her to go to a good home and like be used. Somebody could use that computer and she's in such good shape. So Godspeed.
So I have to ask, and I know that this was part of our our group chat, as you mentioned. What happens if you need to bring in your M1 for service at some point? What is your fallback?
Yeah. So my fallback, and part of the reason I decided to just like bite the bullet and do the trade-in was I have a really good client in like just like 15 minutes from me, and there is an iMac there that is like mine to use whether I'm working on their content or not. They've made it very clear, like if you just want to come hang out here. So that would be the fallback because I don't store much of anything on the actual hard drive. That would be like emergency pertinent things. Everything's on like a million external drives for me. I could always go there if God forbid something happened and she had to go in for service. I could just take my hard drives, go there, do my work. I have all my programs already there anyway. So, it wouldn't be too big of a deal. But I did consider keeping it as the backup and, because it's just.
Well, you have to be careful because if you're anything like me, you keep, the old ones as backups. And then next thing you know, you end up with 15 laptops. So
This is the rabbit hole. And not just that, but like, I don't know if you guys do the same thing, but I keep boxes. I'm very like meticulous with. So then when I was returning my 2018, they give you the return box for it, like the trade-in, and you can't even put the original MacBook Pro box. Like you can't put it in the original. So then I was just left with the empty box, and I was like, memories from the corner of my mind.
Oh no.
So now I finally was like, okay, Tasia, you need to recycle this box. Like you can't just keep a graveyard of boxes. But like if you go in my desk drawer right now, I have like every iPhone, every Google Pixel. I've got the boxes still.
I'm the same
why
way.
do I do this? Because I always think if I'm going to sell it to somebody, that's cool to be like, I still have, it's got the box and like, because I really take care of my things.
Yeah.
Obviously I give them gender and names and I love them and I pet them and I'm like, please, I love you. Don't, what can I do for you today?
Well,
Get help.
I
so
know.
as someone who goes on eBay a lot, looking at,
This is
um,
so true. This is me.
I don't need a box, but dang, it's a good box.
It's a good box.
For those listening at home and not watching, it's just a little comic strip I shared to Facebook a few months ago because I too share your
box
problem. Yeah, your box problem, and every once in a while I've got to go and do a big clear out. But of course,
Yes.
I usually regret it if it's anything like tech related. But please go on, Will.
Oh, I was about to say that if you go on eBay, and as I do, because I've got a mixer problem,
Stay off eBay.
um, people who it's like a selling feature to have the original box.
See,
But the funny thing with me is when you start seeing enough of them, especially the devices I'm looking at are 10 to 25 years old. Some of the boxes are in crap shape. They're like got dents
oh,
in them, and like, so what's the point? And the thing has got all the like decal, rubbed off of it, and it's got a crappy
oh,
box. It's like, okay, you got the box. Like, I don't. What am I gonna do with the box?
yeah.
But if it's like box fresh, that's another thing, right? Like if it's in good shape and you got the box, it shows that you took care of it and like it's legit. But yeah, there's definitely a limit to keeping the box.
In our home office, we have a cupboard and with a number of shelves, and at least two shelves now are just filled with small product boxes, like from every iPhone we've ever bought, and a
Yes.
number of other. It's getting a little ridiculous, but they're so nice. Right?
They are.
It's
They're
They're
like
this,
works of
nice
art.
stock. They're good
exactly.
stock. Like you can't get a box like that.
Yeah. So dumb.
Oh,
So
good times.
So Tasia, in a couple of years, let's say you have a problem with your M1 MacBook Pro, heaven forbid, would you be interested in perhaps fixing it yourself? Because as it so happens that getting ahead of the possible legislation in the whole right to repair movement that's been gathering steam the last couple of years, Apple recently announced that they will be making certain parts and instruction manuals available and tools available for those who want to fix their own iPhones and Macs. So this applies for starters with the iPhone 12 and 3 models and M1 and newer Macs. No word of iPads yet. And limiting for the most part, or focusing for the most part on the most common items that need fixing, such as screens, batteries, and cameras. And then they might eventually expand to other types of components. Over the last number of years, Apple products have gotten thinner and thinner, and as such, the internals get a lot more cramped. And instead of normal mounts, they've had to start gluing in components to get them to stick. But as it turns out, with some of the more recent devices, including the M1 MacBooks, instead of gluing in the batteries, for example, they have some sort of adhesive, some I think sticky tape, double-sided tape they've got in there, and then with tabs you can pop things out. So it seems like they were designing this latest round of laptops, the MacBook Pros, with serviceability in mind. Now, a couple of years ago, Apple did introduce a certified independent repair program, but this expands on that, making these parts, tools, and manuals available to DIY enthusiasts. Now, of course, if you wreck your device
Mm-hmm.
while doing this, you're kind of on your own because you'll be voiding your warranty and so on. But is this A, what do you think about this idea? And B, is this something that you think you might try to do yourself, whether it's your MacBook Pro or one of your iPhones?
Yes and yes.
Hmm.
I love it and yes. So, do you remember back in the day, you literally couldn't take your device anywhere or that would void. You couldn't do anything. Like if you had extra RAM put in or upgrade something after purchase, they were like, you're screwed. It was so strict. Like you could barely touch it to bring it to them to be like, oh, please help me. So it's kind of interesting. I mean, not like really the rules change too much because if you screw it up, you're screwed.
Fair
But
enough,
I
yeah.
love this. Exactly. I love this because it's like it just gives the consumer a bit more power. And if somebody is like somewhat knowledgeable, like I would have the first idea of like a screen that would freak me out. I would have not the first idea of how to fix that kind of stuff. But like the innards and the little components, I could geek out over that all day. So I think with a little bit of like an instruction, I would definitely be able to figure it out. So I love that. I think it's great. And if it's something that is more accessible and more affordable to consumers, why the heck not? Especially if you're like me and you don't get Apple Care, you just wing it and hope for the best. I love it. I love it. Ryan,
How
the only
about
one?
no, like
Yeah.
Will, what do you think? What is this? What do you think of the notion of Apple doing this? Is this like overdue? And would this be something that you might try on one of your Apple devices, be it a laptop or an iPhone?
I think it's overdue. I mean, this is also, I mean, for many years, I mean, you were able to build your own PCs and Windows-based PCs and put all the parts together, and so I mean, I think it's well overdue. I don't think I'd want to screw around with an iPhone that much personally.
The
Um,
smaller it gets, the harder you
the
need those.
smaller it gets,
You need little
yeah,
Keebler elf fingers to get in
e-
there.
You need the right tools.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Tiny little tools. But I mean, back in the day, I used to do a fair bit of stuff in my PC, like power supplies or RAM is super easy. I mean, you just sort of pop it off. It's just like putting a plug in a socket. It's not that hard. So, I mean, stuff like that would be doable. I know that that used to be not too hard on a Mac and then got more and more difficult. I think partly as things got smaller and smaller and they got thinner and thinner, and it was more difficult to open up the back of a MacBook Pro and things like that.
And they started soldering RAM to the motherboard just like because they're using lower profile RAM, and
Yeah,
and now with the M1 series, the memory is actually integrated into the processor die now. So this integrated RAM, which that's the benefits outweigh the costs in that department because of the speed gains you get and the efficiencies and whatnot. So I think gone are the days of being able to long gone are the days of being able to update your own MacBook Pro RAM. Any forthcoming Mac Pros or possibly iMac Pros. We'll have to see on that.
yeah.
But there is still the possibility for the Mac Pro maybe being able to do additional RAM, but it may come at a performance penalty. That's all by not being on the processor die itself, because it wouldn't be part of the system on a chip. So yeah, so you like the idea of it, but you probably wouldn't get into it yourself,
I
is what you're
I
saying.
probably wouldn't go into it just
Yeah.
because again it is my responsibility. I probably want to give it to someone who actually is an expert and knows what they're doing. I mean, if it was something low consequence, I don't mind playing around with technology that's not very expensive. But if these devices are like thousands of dollars, even the phones are like $1,000, I'm not going to mess with it. So I'll just take it to the Apple Store or Simply Computing or one of those type of places.
Yeah, there were several years where you could easily upgrade your RAM on your MacBook Pro, your PowerBook, or your MacBook Pro, and especially on the iMacs. Until the new M1 iMacs, you were able to upgrade the RAM, like on the Intel-based iMacs, no problem. There's a little door in the back, easy peasy.
Yeah.
Again, there's a lot more room there. It's a different architecture, and so on. As for me, the types of upgrades or repairs that I would do tended to be once the device was outside of the warranty. But I've done all sorts of RAM upgrades, like taking laptops apart, MacBooks and Windows PCs, and replaced drives, like spinning hard drives with SSDs in order to eke couple more years of life out of old
Mm,
devices. And Will, I know you and I a few months ago talked about doing that with
yeah,
your current 2014 MacBook Pro. Maybe when you
I
get your
know.
M1, then we can go and like beef up your 2014 as a capable backup machine, or even a dedicated machine for
Yeah,
certain purposes. I suspect you want to use a new one for your DJing stuff, but
yes. Insert
it,
meme here.
exactly.
Yes.
Okay, Eddie Murphy.
Yeah. No, no, definitely. I was thinking the same thing, so I might need to hit your guy
Yeah.
up.
For sure, yeah, and that's something I've helped a number of friends with over the years, and done it for ourselves because we like I'm looking under the table here. I've got at least 3 or 4 other old MacBook Pros mining various types of crappy cryptocurrencies just using their CPUs, and they all have SSDs, and then we've got machines all the way back to 2007 with maxed out RAM and SSDs and all those devices.
But
So,
that's the thing
yeah.
is with old Windows computers, that was the way you could simply upgrade them is put in a new graphics card, put in more RAM,
Sometimes even upgrade the processor, if
even
especially on the
upgrade the
tower.
processor, and
Yeah,
it was all sort of plug and play. But these were big parts, right?
yeah,
Like big-ish parts. The sockets were kind of big for the RAM and all that kind of stuff, and that was fairly easy. But I would not feel comfortable, as Tasia said, replacing a screen on an iPhone.
yeah.
No thanks. I think I'm good.
And we've seen over a decade of like little mall kiosk repair places that would do those sorts of repairs on smartphones, including iPhones, because goodness knows, plenty of people have smashed their phone screens, and it always gives me the heebie-jeebies a little bit when I see people with smashed screens. It's like it's not that much to get that
Oh
fixed, and
no.
you're just scraping your fingerprints off. I mean, which is great if you want to do crimes or something. But I've been that person
Oh,
before, and it's just the problem is that some of those independent repair shops would use non-Apple parts, and then you would end up with maybe like substandard screens. They wouldn't be as good. It got more complicated once they started integrating Touch ID into the home button, and you
Yeah,
could end up bricking your device if they didn't do it right, or and Apple was trying to discourage
yeah.
non-authorized repair depots from doing that kind of thing. There are some legitimate security considerations there, and then some is just gets to be like a quality issue, and can you actually end up damaging the device? So
Well,
this is
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say Apple was definitely frowning on that. It was almost like black market
yeah.
jobs, right? But the thing is, those parts were so expensive if you buy the legit Apple
Exactly,
glass and all
exactly.
that.
And if it's a phone that's already 2 or 3 years old and you're just trying to keep it going until you upgrade it a year later or something, sure. But otherwise, I mean, for some people like Apple Care Plus, especially with the accidental repair coverage or the accidental damage coverage, could be handy. Like if you're kind of klutzy or if you don't use a proper case, then you get a couple of cheaper screen replacements as part of that coverage. But I personally haven't used Apple Care Plus in several years, either for laptops or phones. So kind of just winging it there. But yeah, it's nice to see this progress. And I think, again, with the climate the way it is, whether it's anti-competitive, antitrust, and right to repair, all these issues, and Apple's just like, okay, we're just going to get ahead of this and maybe say, hey, well, we're the good guys, and go look at someone else. So iFixit, which is a purveyor of parts, and they have all sorts of great videos, teardown videos, and also repair videos. They had a video talking about their thoughts on the whole issue, and worth checking out as well. And then famous Apple pundit John Gruber has a number of thoughts too, and we'll link to those in the show notes about Apple's independent repair program for consumers. So we'll hopefully we'll keep our devices in good shape so we won't need them repaired. But
Yes.
it's nice to know that things are moving this direction. Again, iPhone 12 and iPhone 13 forward, and M1 Max forward. They haven't announced officially, but it looks like it's going to be. And mostly screens, batteries, and what was the other thing? Screens, batteries, and something else. Cameras, and before they expand to other types of parts. But in other Apple news, just a little while ago, a couple weeks ago, an Apple One computer. So that's the very first model of Apple computer that designed by Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs back in the mid '70s in the garage. They were selling them for $666.66 to the Homebrew Computer Club in California there. They were mostly just like a motherboard, and people would make their own cases for them. But there's a couple models that Jobs and Woz actually built their own cases for, and some of them are wooden, like the one that went for auction recently. It went for $500,000. So
So
yeah.
it said that there's only
man.
6 of them. Didn't they make like maybe it was just the motherboards, but didn't they make like hundreds of them?
They
Or
made 200 of them, and 200 total. And they were again just sold to other hobbyists and enthusiasts. But there's only so many that were fully hand built by jobs and was. And I think the most expensive one of that lot went for like about $900,000 a few years ago. So yeah, and so just combining this with another story that about an auction. There was a copy, one of the original copies of the U.S. Constitution went up for sale, and it's sort of in the land of crypto. This group of people got together and created something called the Constitution DAO, and DAO, DAO, stands for Decentralized Autonomous Organization, and this is a function of the Web3 or blockchain, cryptocurrencies, all that sort of stuff, whereby you can have participants who have some skin in the game and by purchasing tokens can earn the right to vote on certain projects. Maybe it's a development project, maybe it's a charity initiative, or in this case, it was to buy this copy of the US Constitution. And because I guess Nick Cage already got the Declaration of Independence, so that's a reference. Anyhow, so they within a week, they had raised almost around $40 million, if you can believe it. And then they went to this auction and they got outbid $43.2 million by someone who's part of the establishment, the CEO of Citadel, Kenneth Griffin. And for his collection, actually, I think he was going to be loaning it to the Crystal Bridges Museum in Arkansas. So this was a case where the little guys got outbid by the big guy. And the interesting tie-in with Citadel is that the Citadel is associated with Robinhood, and there was that big thing in the spring where there was all sorts of investors on Robinhood who were doing GameStop and AMC and other stocks. They were running up the stocks because they were trying to pull a short squeeze on some of these other investors. Robinhood was running out of money to collateralize all this trading that was going on, and apparently Citadel, which is one of their underwriters, was rumored to have stepped in and said to Robinhood, "Hey, you got to stop all this buying going on because you're not liquid anymore, and if things fall apart, you're going to be in big trouble." So the whole point of all this being that, in addition to them getting outbid, is they're actually going to shut down now, and the people who contributed to this DAO, this decentralized autonomous organization, will be getting their money back. And this DAO is built on the Ethereum blockchain. One of the glitches, however, is because Ethereum is such a popular blockchain right now, it's being used for a lot of NFTs or non-fungible tokens. There's gas fees are quite high, so the cost to actually transfer value from one individual to another, and some people may have only invested or $50 or $100, and it could cost like $30 or $60, depending on how busy the network is, to actually get their money back after having paid fees going both ways. So it might not even be worth it for some folks, and people who have put in hundreds or thousands of dollars perhaps. But anyway, the whole point of this story is for me to ask the two of you, starting with you, Tasia, what is the highest value or strangest type of thing that you either currently collect or would buy if it was available? And it could be like a real world thing, or it could be a fantasy, or maybe some of each.
I don't think I really collect anything.
Aside from likes on YouTube?
Boom. I mean, I collect like when we travel, we collect like Christmas tree ornaments of places we've gone so that we can remember where we've been. I'm such a loser. I don't really collect anything. When I was a child, I collected troll dolls that were supposed to be worth a lot of money. We all know how that panned out.
How about Beanie Babies? Were you on that train too?
Oh, 1,000%. So like my mom built me a castle for my troll dolls. Then I insisted, after that fad, I insisted on the whole Beanie Baby thing, and I want this Beanie Baby and this collectible. They were so expensive. And my mom would be like, "What are you gonna do with these dust collectors?" And I was like, "They're gonna be worth money. Don't take off the tag." Another fail. So after 2 fails in my childhood, I don't collect things. Though I did find, when I was back home, I was cleaning stuff out, a bunch of hockey cards. and baseball cards. Now I'm gonna wager they're not worth anything because a lot of them were McDonald's hockey cards.
Oh, there you go.
But I kept them and I brought them to my house
You'd
so
be
I can go through
surprised.
them.
Some of those things are worth money, like
Listen.
McDonald's collectibles and stuff.
So thank you very
Muppet
much.
Babies from Happy Meals in the 80s.
Yeah.
So I might be 3 strikes out here on this one, but the hockey cards, we don't know. They could be worth a whole lot of money.
What's the going price for a Carey Price rookie card? Would you be in that market?
Oh. See, the thing is, no, because I'm a sentimental person. So to me, I think that's why I don't really collect things like for monetary that I would sell, because like, as an example, I have Montreal Canadiens memorabilia. I guess you could say that's what I collect in a way, but it's personal stuff. It's not just stuff that I go and buy a signed thing from somebody. It's stuff that is directed towards me personally. So that's invaluable to me. So like stuff from Saku Koivu, like, is invaluable. You know, like when I got a card from him and his wife, they signed it to me and he signed it. I mean, that type of thing, I would never, I'm going to go to my grave with that, you know? So I think that's where I differ and why I don't really collect things like that, because also it's his birthday today. Happy birthday, Saku Koivu.
Happy birthday, Saku.
Yeah, it looks
$2.
His cards aren't going for. Oh, look, it's a McDonald's.
78 cents.
Hey, a McDonald's! I have a McDonald's one. $3, eh? All right. Okie dokie. Well, I've hit it out the jackpot again. There you go. Right out of the ballpark for me.
Start planning your retirement.
All right.
So now, Will, aside from your well-known problem with acquiring mixers, what sort of, like, is there a historical thing? Like, here we were talking about the U.S. U.S. Constitution. Is there some sort of historical thing? Maybe it is music related, or not, or Marvel universe related, or video game related. Is there something that's like your unicorn that you would be, if you had unlimited funds, that you would be tempted to bid on to add to your collection?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think you guys know this, but I'm a huge comic book fan, but I did a lot of collecting of hockey cards and comic books, like a lot of people my age in the early 90s when there was a big craze. And one of the things that I learned from that was that it's not worth trying to collect them for money. And that was just the lesson I learned at that time. No, I still enjoyed I like the things, but I buy things to use them. Like, I collect, but they're things that I use, like my mixers. I don't
How
put
many
them in a box.
mixers do you use?
I can use
How
one
many
at a
do you
time.
actually use?
Well, I now have 4 set up. I had to set up a whole nother station over there. I moved a couch out of this room so I could get 2 more mixers and 10 more or 12 more mixers in that.
I'm just concerned for your marriage. That's all. Like, I'm not judging. It's just
I have a list of mixers that I can tell you that I'm looking for right now. But no, there's it's on my
You
phone.
have a problem.
I have a list on my phone.
We called you here today not for a live stream,
Yes.
but
an intervention.
for an intervention.
Yeah. I'm going to throw out a weird one here.
Okay.
You may not know this, but I do have some action figures that I collect. And probably the one that would be the holy grail for me, and this is, you're talking about Fantasyland here, if I somehow got this, what they call mint on card, which always drives my wife crazy, because she's like, why would somebody not open a toy in the 80s? A 1982 original Snake Eyes mint on card is something like $1,500 to $2,000 depending, and there's not many of them, because guess what? Kids open toys. So mint on card.
For our mums watching at home, can you explain who Snake Eyes is?
Snake Eyes is a G.I. Joe action figure. He actually just had a movie that was apparently not very good. It spent about a week in cinemas.
So not good with it. We didn't even see it, and we'll see anything.
We didn't even see it. I'm looking forward to seeing it on Crave HBO soon. But yeah, Um, but yeah, so that if you're throwing out a weird memorabilia thing, I think that's the thing that I would really cherish.
I have a question before we
Yes.
get to what you're collecting, Tristan.
It's not about me.
The question is because, well, when I was a kid,
Yeah.
there was this Barbie that we
Mm,
had that was to remain in the top shelf of the closet
mm.
in her Barbie container, and we were not allowed to touch it. And it was the most tempting. And when my mom wouldn't be home, I would like crawl up there and like get it and just like look at her. I would open the top and like touch her hair,
Yeah.
and think I was going to get in so much crap for it. But like, I'd like to know how the hell to find out what $0 that Barbie is worth now. Like,
Yeah.
you can't tell me that she's worth enough money that you wouldn't let your child,
Well,
who
and
is
there's
now 36. So that's a long time to keep this doll.
yeah.
How do you find out what these things are worth? You just go on eBay and see what people are
Well,
selling them for?
a lot of the market value of these, because okay, for someone like I used to collect comic books and action figures and trading cards, and back in the day there used to be physical books that you would buy that would have all the listings. These days it's basically eBay. That's the number one place. Craigslist is a bit dodgy. Facebook Marketplace is a bit dodgy. Um, Half the time you meet these people and they're just like, yeah, I've owned it my whole life. And there's like blood stains on the back of it or whatever.
The dents
Um,
from when it fell off the back of a truck.
yeah, or do not remove from store on the back of it. Yeah, I mean, um, eBay is a little bit more credible, just partly because eBay does have, there's some insurance there in terms of eBay as an organization, whereas when you're dealing with Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace, you're basically dealing with individuals, and it's, if something's wrong with it, it's your problem. If it's broken or hot or whatever, there's no sort of repercussions for any of that. But yeah, I would try eBay. Just try to look it up and try to find it. You'd be amazed what people are selling on eBay. All sorts of, like McDonald's Happy Meal toys. There's a whole market for that, for people collecting that stuff.
I should have
So
kept those. See,
yeah.
I'm making
Now,
wrong choices everywhere I go.
so is this boxed Barbie still in your family somewhere, Tasia?
I believe it is. Actually, I'm going to ask my mom tomorrow because she's like doing a lot of cleaning and organizing. And I'm like wondering if she gave it to like a niece or nephew, but I don't think so. I believe it is. I'm going to
Can I
ask.
can I tell
Next
you
week, we will
can
get
I
to the bottom
can I tell you a
of the
story
box
about
party.
about what my father had in a closet?
Oh no.
Have you heard this story, Tristan?
Go ahead.
Okay,
It's just going to make me
so
sad. I'm sure whatever it is.
you guys both probably know my father is a physician, and in my
Body
room
parts.
growing up in the closet, because he had no room somewhere else apparently, there was a real human skull in my closet, from from his first, I guess, cadaver or something in medical schools. It's legit. There's papers.
Yeah.
It's not just some
Yeah, yeah.
like, he's not Dexter. It's a legit skull that he owned and bought through medical school. But try to tell that to a 4 or 5 year old that there's a skull in their closet.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Do you still have it?
Yeah, my dad still has it. It's
Oh,
it's in their house now.
Here we go,
It's
eBay.
scaring my nieces and nephews on a recurring basis. He's like, "What? It's medical."
it's amazing.
Well, if you don't want to accumulate more stuff, Tasia, maybe the world of NFTs. Once Beanie Babies has an NFT version, you could
Oh,
relive your youth there, because
waste
that's
some
the
more money.
well, and that's the thing is like when you get all of these hot properties like NBA Top Shots, which we've talked about before.
Yeah.
All there's there were Garbage Pail Kids is one of the earliest NFTs that came a couple of years ago. So there's going to be more and more of these things, and some people just they don't have the space to keep all this
Yep.
stuff anymore. But to have the digital equivalents with it's basically like a digital certificate of authenticity for that ownership and that prestige, limited editions of things, whether they be digital Beanie Babies. I don't know about digital mixers, Will. I mean, you could have software versions of those mixers online as well. Like they have software synths, but maybe it's not quite the same. But
well, I bought a couple of these things, and people will be like, well, yeah, I didn't want to part with it, but I just don't have space anymore. And I go, ha ha, yoink. I don't either, but I still want it.
Goodbye, couch.
Goodbye.
Exactly. Speaking of couches, we've actually, Will and I have started seeing some movies again. We had a big jam up of movies, unfortunately. We kind of got a little bit behind. We still haven't seen Venom, Get Ready for Carnage. We still haven't seen James Bond, No Time to Die, but we did get around to seeing Eternals and Dune, and Tasia's taken a hard pass on both of those. But when I was asking Tasia what she's been watching lately, Tasia, what was your response?
According to my Netflix history, I've been binging a lot of random shows.
So you haven't been going to theaters much. You've been doing all your movie watching at home. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, you're in luck because Netflix recently launched a new website for reporting its top 10 titles. And I guess for some reason, Netflix had been keeping this sort of data close to its chest. But as we know, like from meeting some Netflix folks years and years ago, when we were working for Get Connected, what they had said to us at the time is their number one aim is to keep people watching. So whatever it takes, they want to just keep people watching. And I guess this is something that they've determined will help keep people watching, because I think we've all been through that issue, whether it's on Netflix or Disney Plus or Prime Video or Crave or whatever other streaming service we tend to be subscribing to nowadays. And, people complained about cable bills back in the day. Well, how many subscription services are we subscribing to? Or streaming services. So now what Netflix is doing is sharing their top 10 regionally and globally and whatnot. So you can go to the website, it's top10.netflix.com, and see what their top films in English are right now. So Red Notice, and it shows 129 million hours of Red Notice were watched this week. The Princess Switch 3, Romancing the Star, and whatever that is.
That's the second one.
Yeah, exactly. Love Hard. I think my wife watched this one recently. That's the thing. We're at the time of years where like all the terrible Christmas rom-coms come out, and whether the Hallmark ones or the Netflix ones. Yeah, Love Hard. It was like there was a whole Die Hard angle to that too.
It was bad. I watched that.
Central Intelligence, I guess, is finally on Netflix now, so that's getting a lot of views. The Harder They Fall, The Croods, family movie. Army of Thieves, which we still need to get around to watching. Army of Thieves, we talked about a while back as the prequel to Army of the Dead, so I need to get on that one. Trolls, Six Underground. I haven't watched any of the Trolls movies. Six Underground, that's a Ryan Reynolds one. And Goosebumps 2. There you go. So rather than just scrolling around, you can just take a look at the top 10. But then it also, if you scroll on the page, it shows you what countries they're available in. And that's the brilliant thing about Netflix is when they do their own productions, they're pretty much available in all of their markets, as opposed to when they license movies and TV shows from other studios, then it tends to be limited on which countries they have the rights for. So some interesting data that they're sharing there, and you can dig around there. And if you're really stuck, see what other people are watching. And you can even browse by different countries. So that was the United States that we were looking at. We could have a look in Canada and see, are we that different than the US? Oh, we got Pain and Gain on there. That was actually kind of fun. Mark Wahlberg and Dwayne Johnson. Birds of Prey, okay, the Harley Quinn movie. Princess Switch 3 again. What else is different? Oh, we got The Grinch on there. How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Snowbound for Christmas. The Harder They Fall. And Indecent Proposal. Okay. So that's a little fun too. Yeah, so you can see all over the world what are the top movies. And some of those movies will indeed be available in your own markets. Not always, but sometimes. So there you go, Tasia.
I love this because I do remember back in the day when they used to hide this kind of info. Yeah. And initially their switch was kind of what you're familiar with now as the user interface, like on Netflix when it says like, trending or like number one in your region right now and all this kind of stuff. And then they coupled that with sending you customized emails being like, which was the beyond the whole, oh, because you watch this, you might like this. It was, this is what's trending near you right now. And it's done regionally. So like what I've noticed when I'm like popping into Canada, I'll get an email that's like, what's trending near you there? But then when I'm back here, it's like, what's trending near you? So I'm like, oh, okay. I dig your style, Netflix. Like, I'm just cruising you all day, every day.
And they've got
Great.
so much data at their fingertips too. They can really help with their algorithms, keep us locked in, just watching and watching and watching. The best is when you fall asleep watching, and then after a while, a little nose pops up, says, "Are you still watching?"
Yeah. Are you still watching? And I'm always like, yes, I'm still on the couch. I have not moved.
I was going to say we went also. Was it like 5 years ago when we went to CES with Momentous? Graham and I met with Netflix, and to your point, Tristan, they have a tremendous amount of data, and they were breaking down at that point. They were just actually I think we had to sign an NDA, and it was basically because we were getting advanced premiere access or being introduced to pre-rolls. They were just starting to do the pre-rolls, so you know scroll over and it starts the movie with, and they were breaking down that's like the first 5 seconds, and the conversion rate is this when we've tested it, and
it's so annoying too, but it works.
So my wife hates it.
And the autoplay stuff,
and they as you said, their goal was to never have you stop watching. And did you mention it last week or another time that I think I was hearing that the one of the heads of Netflix said their only competitor sleep or something.
Yeah, that's their main competition. Reed Hastings, the co-CEO, said that's their main competition is sleep. It's like, that's so insidious, but that's how they get you.
Yeah.
So the question is, I wonder if they were going to follow in the footsteps of Disney Plus, who is now looking at upgrading some of its Marvel movies to IMAX aspect ratio. So some movies where they have filmed with the larger, more square-ish format. Traditionally, films in movies are displayed at sort of, what was it, 16 by 10 aspect ratio or 16 by 9. Generally a little bit narrower than most widescreen TVs nowadays. So you still will see some black bars, or somewhere will be like at a 2-to-1 ratio. I think most TVs are like 16 by 9. And 16 by 10 is taller. So like some laptop screens are 16 by 10. So what they're doing is that when they've, if they've shot with a wider mat, they are in some cases for certain scenes going to be revealing some of the extra stuff there to help fill up some of our widescreen TVs, because sometimes black bars drive people nuts. And I remember back in the 90s when we were selling VHS and DVDs at a chain of mall record stores that I used to work for as a store manager and then as a district manager. It was called Music World. And one of the things that set us apart, we were pretty early on sell-through video, VHS and eventually DVDs. But there was a time where you could get both VHS tapes and DVDs in full screen versions, also known as pan and scan, or widescreen versions. And then letterbox is sort of like a bastardized version of widescreen as well. But like the full screen pan and scan, often they would like sometimes pan back and forth to get stuff if you've got two people on the opposite end of the screen. Yeah. And the directors hated it, right? So the alternative was to do the black bars so you see the full image, but then people complained, oh, I got these black bars on my TV. So that is still a thing now, given that, true cinematic aspect ratio tends to be a little narrower than what you see within the space you have on your TV. Broadcast TV and a lot of streaming TV shows, however, are 16 by 9 and tend to fill up the screen nicely. So this is just another little thing like for Tasha, do you subscribe to Disney Plus? So there you go. So all of us here are Disney Plus people. All of us here are Dyson people, and I think Gray checks both those boxes as well. So just keep an eye out for that. I know, Tasha, you're not the hugest Marvel Cinematic Universe fan, but maybe this will get you in there to fill up those black bars on your TV. Look, you can see, the top of.
I can't stand the black bars.
Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah. You can see the top of Black Widow's ponytail as she's scaling out the side of a building there or something. So 22 minutes in Black Widow, it has that IMAX enhanced or expanded aspect ratio. So There are a number of movies there that you can check out, mostly from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, to enjoy the extra pixels on the screen. That's a thing. I'm kind of stoked because anything that
Oh
fills up
yeah.
those black bars, and you see more of the image. So speaking of Disney Plus, now, Will, this is going to be more relevant to you maybe than Tisha, but maybe Tisha will get you in. Hawkeye, the latest TV series in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, coming on Disney Plus, actually debuts tomorrow, and the reviews are pretty good so far. It says it's not taking itself too seriously, and if you haven't done so already, I encourage you to check out. There's a trailer and a more recent teaser as well. Will, when you saw this, what kind of energy or vibes were you getting from this? There was a particular movie I was thinking when I first saw this.
Well, I mean, are you thinking Die Hard? I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, it's
it's
got
got Die
like
Hard energy for sure.
I'll say that. So I'm super stoked about this. This might be one of the most stoked I've been about a show or a movie in the last year. I loved the comic book sort of run that, as they say, run that this was based off of. I think the writer is named Matt Faction, and it's basically just sort of Hawkeye as a dude, and it introduces a lot of sort of fun, playful things. He has a dog who's in the trailer, so it's not a huge spoiler. It's in the comic books. So there's just a lot of fun things. There's a lot of fun characters. The sort of bad guys are kind of funny caricatures. So I'm looking forward to it. I've seen the trailers, but I obviously haven't seen the show. But my understanding is based off that comic book run. And all the graphics with the circles are from the comic book run. So I'm super stoked. This is going to be a fun, sort of lighthearted, real world, I think, kind of humanizing take on Hawkeye.
It's definitely a different vibe than what they showed him up to in the 5 years between the snap and the blip there.
Yeah.
Things went a little dark, and he was just like going around the world killing people.
Yeah.
And I thought maybe that's what this series would be about. Any idea when this is taking place in the MCU?
Not in the MCU, no. I mean, my knowledge of it is mostly based off of the comic book, and I'm not sure there was a lot of clues from the trailer about where it's set in the MCU, other than at least in the trailer, Kate Bishop, who's the female Hawkeye, who's his sort of protege, or she's not set up as like a Robin character, but she's more of an equal in some ways, or someone who's learning from him.
Played by Haley Steinfeld.
Yes, yeah, from she's been in everything.
Yeah.
I like her.
Yeah, True Grit was the thing that I think really put her on the map. Yeah, no, I mean she's in the Ronin costume in the trailer, so I think it's probably after. I mean, because that's what Hawkeye was dressed up as. Clint Barton was dressed up in Infinity Wars. So presumably it's after that, but who knows?
And maybe it's like passing the torch, sort of like Black Widow, the movie seemed to do, setting up the next generation for the next chapter here.
They live in the same universe in the comic books, so maybe they're not. Maybe Clint Barton's going away, but I can tell you in the comic books they are colleagues that work together. So.
Yeah, I guess it depends on how hard up Jeremy Renner is for work, I suppose. Yeah. I guess he could always do Netflix movies.
Well, the other thing is that Kate Bishop is part of the Young Avengers, so there's been a lot of speculation about there being Young Avengers, and that because they brought in some characters in Scarlet Witch, Speed, and Wiccan, and there's a few other people that they've brought in that could be part of that Young Avengers team.
Tasha, have you watched any of the Disney Plus Marvel series that have been on there throughout this year? And if not, is Haley Steinfeld enough to get you interested in Hawkeye?
Yeah, I like her, and I've actually been watching like a couple clips on YouTube, and people are like losing it because like fans of her like music and stuff like that are like losing it at her in this role. So, and like knowing it's kind of a more lighthearted thing, I think that's kind of more my jam. Lately, I just don't want to be like watching a lot of needless violence and like dark stuff. So like if there's like a nice tonality to it, like I'll get down with that, but I just rather watch, I
At
don't
least
know, something funny or
the comic book is funny, and they have a great relationship. He's a bit of a loser in the comic books, and she's actually sort of helping him in some ways get out of his funk, get out of the problems that he has. So again, I'm not
okay.
sure. It does seem to play on that, at least in the trailer, but we'll see what the actual show is about. But they have a great relationship, and if they can pull it off, I mean, that's one of the things that's one of the reasons why they're doing this show based off that comic book run, because people love those two characters together and the dog and a few of the other characters. So I mean, uh, people nerded out when Lucky the Pizza Dog had like a millisecond on a trailer. There was like nerds everywhere were typing like, "Oh, it's Lucky the Pizza Dog."
And this is all part of Disney Plus's brilliant strategy to just keep dripping out these these franchise series, whether they're from Marvel or after this we're going to have the Book of Boba Fett from the Star Wars
Yeah.
universe too. So every couple of months there's another series. So it's like just go to cancel like Disney Plus, like oh they got another thing. That's so
I
we.
know.
So last December we just went for the 1 year before they raised the price, and now when for the renewal we're going to be at the higher price. So we just have to decide are we going to do the month to month and just like just renew and for a little bit at a time for a new series and then cancel, because we don't really watch much of the movies on there. But they added
Yeah.
the Star catalog, which features a lot of the Fox content and whatnot. So that's how they get you, man. They get you. No one leaves the firm. But speaking of funk, Will,
Yeah.
you've got
Kicking
some
up
new
the funk.
beats for us. What's going on here?
I
Level Up
do.
Volume 10?
Volume 10. Can you believe it?
I cannot
Woo!
believe it. Level
It's
Up Looper. What do we got? What do you got for us this time?
I've got some classics here. I mean, you might like a little ditty called Unicorn Flares. Um, uh, um, but yeah, it's a little bit sort of more hip hoppy and trappy. Another looper. This link is actually to tableist.net, so there's actually a web-based looper there. But also you can download it on Table Beats. If you download the Table Beats app and search for Molotov, it's one of the more recent loopers. So, and this is my 16th looper overall. This is the 10th level up looper. I think I've got some sort of problem. This is the third looper I've put out this month, which is I'm probably got some of the most loopers in the last year. So that's pretty cool.
Well, and that just speaks to the power of doing things on a regular basis, and then you amass this great track record, and you can start to build a bit of reputation for yourself. Your 16th looper, it's our 38th episode of Momentous Live.
Yeah.
We're dripping out videos as we get them edited from our various trade shows we visited recently. We're just got to keep working on that. And Tasia, you've got another new video. Speaking of regularity, what's your video this week?
This one is what to do before upgrading to macOS Monterey, because the one that's coming out this Thursday is the best features of macOS Monterey.
There you go.
Almost like I planned it that way.
Wow.
A little series. So can you give us a hint, a little, not too many spoilers, but what are a couple of things that people should do? Like I'm still running Big Sur on my M1 MacBook Air, and I'm still running Catalina on my Intel-based iMac. So what are some of the things that you're suggesting people do? And then they can go and check out the full video to find out the rest of your tips.
Okay, so besides what we always preach here, which is like back up everything before upgrading anything. I don't care whether it's an iOS, iPad OS, Mac OS. I don't care.
Windows even. That's a thing.
Yeah, don't care. It's like always have an up-to-date backup. So besides that, honestly, one of the biggest things is app compatibility, because like we talked about this a lot before when we did the Big Sur update and like stuff broke for us. I was like, it probably would have been smart if I would have just checked my app compatibility first. So that is another big one for people to just keep in mind. And then there's a three others in there that I sprinkle in, and also some troubleshooting stuff like other tips at the end. And then for this week, I'm working on the best features, and there's so many good features because obviously this 2021 that I'm on right now is running Monterey, and there's so many good features. And guys, I'm just gonna say it. I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna give you the spoiler of what comes in at number one on my top 10 list. Are you? I don't know if you can handle it because like.
Do it.
If you say Memoji, I'm gonna leave right now.
That's number two.
What's a Moomoji?
Memoji.
It's animated. It's an animated Memoji, okay? But that's not number one.
Okay.
Number one, spoiler alert, the iconic Hello screensaver is available on every device that's running Monterey. Run,
Wow.
Don't walk. Oh my God. I'm obsessed with it. And that came out number one because I was like, a little aesthetic moment. Why not? But there's obviously a lot of other important things. I throw in an accessibility one that's very important and an awesome major update. So yeah, there's just a lot of good ones, and you know.
Just in case anyone wasn't sure if you were a nerd or not, I think you just proved it right there.
Huge
It's called the Hello screensaver.
I know. I named like all these really important ones, and then I'm like, no. Number one, iconic.
Well, I guess next week we'll have nothing to talk about. Thanks for the spoilers. We'll have to rehash it again.
We're gonna rehash it again. Maybe I'll give you all 10 next week.
Maybe we'll have different mums watching then. So believe it or not, that's it. Thank you so much, Tasia, Will. Always fun to chat. Our favorite day of the week.
And you.
And if those of you at home can follow us at momentus.tv, twitter.com/momentus.tv, facebook.com/momentus.tv. Not sure why last week's episode didn't appear on Facebook. It was there for a bit and then disappeared, and I didn't get around to uploading another copy. So anyway, find us at facebook.com/momentus.tv for most of our stuff. Instagram.com/momentus.tv. And for YouTube, you can just Google my name, look for the Momentous playlists there, and you can find Momentous. And please, of course, like, subscribe, follow, all of those things. Even
Smash that bell!
Exactly, smash all the things. And if you smash your iPhone, soon you'll be able to repair it yourself. Look, it's a full circle.
Circle.
Tasia, Will, and anyone watching or listening, we all hope your week is truly momentous.